Friends, what would you do if a royal guard turned a snarling beast into a gentle giant right before your eyes? Picture a crisp morning at Buckingham Palace, where the sun casts long shadows over ancient stone, and a royal guard stands as a living symbol of honor. But when a tourist unleashes his bulldog, thinking fear will break the guard's stance, something extraordinary happens. A moment of courage and compassion that leaves the crowd speechless. I'm your storyteller, with 20 years weaving tales that touch the heart, and I'm honored to share this as your channel celebrates 10 days strong. Can you believe it's been 10 days since we started this journey together? What's been your favorite story so far? Hold that thought, because this tale of valor will stir your soul. When have you seen true authority transform a dangerous moment? Let's dive in and make this a cornerstone for our growing community. The morning sun bathed the grounds of Buckingham Palace in a golden glow, its light catching the brass buttons of Guard James Harrison's scarlet tunic. At 32, Harrison stood with the disciplined stillness of a man who'd served 8 years in the British Army, including 2 tours in Afghanistan. Tourists buzzed around him, their cameras clicking, their voices a soft hum of admiration. But a new sound cut through the air, a deep, rumbling growl that turned heads. A stocky man in his 40s, Marcus Reed, pushed through the crowd, his sleeveless shirt revealing tattooed arms, a brown and white bulldog straining at his leash. "Easy there, Cupcake," Reed sneered, his voice dripping with false sweetness that masked a darker intent. "You'll get your chance to meet the toy soldier soon enough." Cupcake's powerful muscles rippled with each step, his growls deepening as Reed deliberately let the leash slacken, then yanked it taut, a calculated pattern to agitate the dog. Tourists stepped back, creating a clearing around the pair. A mother pulled her young son behind her, while an elderly couple exchanged worried glances. Among them was Henry Carver, a 67-year-old American veteran visiting London with his wife, Margaret. Henry's weathered hand tightened on his cane, his Vietnam service pin gleaming on his jacket. He'd seen men like Reed before, bullies who used fear as a weapon. "Margaret," he whispered, "this isn't good." She nodded, her eyes fixed on the bulldog, whose presence wasn't the issue. Pets were common here. But Reed's deliberate menace set off alarm bells. "Look at him, standing there," Reed announced, jerking Cupcake's leash as the dog's growls intensified. All dressed up in his fancy costume, thinking he's something special. He moved closer to Harrison, allowing Cupcake to strain toward the guards. Harrison remained motionless, his eyes fixed forward, but his training had already kicked in. He noted Reed's stance, the way he manipulated the leash to provoke the dog, and the growing risk to civilians. This wasn't random mischief. It was orchestrated intimidation. "Sir," a middle-aged man in a tour group spoke up, "perhaps you should step back. The guards are active-duty military." Reed snapped, "Shut it," yanking Cupcake's leash again. "Me and Cupcake are just saying hello, aren't we, boy?" The bulldog's growl deepened, but there was confusion in his stance. Torn between his owner's aggression and Harrison's steady presence, a tour guide began quietly moving his group away, sensing escalating trouble. But Reed, thriving on the attention, raised his voice. "What's wrong, soldier boy?" Not so brave when faced with something that can bite back. "Are you?" A small group of school children huddled behind their teacher, a tall woman with graying hair, as Reed's taunts grew louder. "Don't leave just yet, kids," he called, a cruel smile on his face. "Cupcake loves an audience. Don't you, boy?" The dog's growls took on a higher pitch, responding to the tension in Reed's voice. Henry Carver stepped forward, his veteran's pin catching the light. "That's enough of this nonsense," he said, his voice firm despite his age. "This is a place of ceremony and respect." Reed barked a harsh laugh, letting Cupcake lunge forward before snapping the leash back, the dog's teeth flashing in the sun. "Respect. Tell me, old-timer, how much respect you think this dress-up soldier deserves when Cupcake decides to test how fast he can move?" Henry stood his ground, his military experience telling him this was beyond reason. A young couple filming the palace pocketed their phones, sensing recording would only escalate things. Reed nodded with satisfaction. Everyone wants to play hero until Cupcake gets interested. Isn't that right, boy? He patted the bulldog's head, a gesture that should have been affectionate but felt threatening. Now, let's see what our fancy guard thinks about meeting a real soldier. Harrison's trained eye missed nothing. He'd noted how Reed used Cupcake's responses to control the crowd, each threat measured to intimidate. More concerning was Reed's shifting grip on the leash, moving from control to deliberate agitation. Look at him, standing there, Reed taunted, his voice taking on a sing-song quality that made onlookers wince, all stiff and proper, while Cupcake gets more and more curious. The bulldog trembled with contained energy, his growls interspersed with uncertain glances at his owner, as if torn between trained aggression and instinct. A palace security officer appeared at the crowd's edge, speaking into his radio, but Reed spotted him. Calling for backup already, he sneered, shortening the leash to bring Cupcake closer. Well, Cupcake doesn't like uniforms much. Do you, boy? The morning air grew heavy as Reed's intentions clarified. Tell me something. He addressed Harrison directly, positioning Cupcake just yards from the guard's polished boots. Behind all that ceremony, you're just flesh and blood, aren't you? He let the leash extend slightly, allowing the dog to edge closer. Harrison's stillness seemed to irritate Reed further. In his experience, fear had a smell, a visible tremor, but Harrison's bearing was as solid as the palace walls. You see, Cupcake here has a special talent. Reed continued, his voice darkening. He can smell fear through all that fancy dress-up. Can't you, boy? He jerked the leash, causing the bulldog to bark, the sound echoing off the stones. A woman in a business suit took out her phone to call for help, but Reed's head snapped toward her. I wouldn't do that, he warned, letting Cupcake growl in her direction. Cupcake gets real nervous around phones, makes him do unpredictable things. The woman lowered her phone, her hand finding the arm of a nearby tourist, both standing firm despite their fear. Let me tell you what's going to happen, Reed announced, his fingers playing with the leash clip, the metal glinting in the sun. Sweat beaded on his forehead, not from heat, but from frustration at Harrison's lack of reaction. In about 30 seconds, Cupcake here is going to test your dedication to standing still. And trust me, his smile turned predatory. He's got quite the track record for making people move. A palace guard sergeant stepped closer, his approach measured, but Reed warned, one step closer, and everyone here gets to see how fast Cupcake can run. Harrison remained motionless, but his military training had mapped out the scenario. He noticed Cupcake's ears flicking back at Reed's tone. Not aggression, but uncertainty, a sign of conflicted training. The dog's shifting weight showed a battle between trained responses and natural instincts. The real threat wasn't the bulldog, it was the man holding the leash. Time's up, soldier boy, Reed whispered, his thumb on the leash clip. Ready or not? The clip released with a metallic snap, echoing like a gunshot. Get him. Cupcake, Reed commanded, vicious satisfaction on his face as the bulldog lunged forward. Time slowed. Harrison's training took over, his mind calculating. As his body stayed still, he noted Cupcake's coiled muscles, the crowd's gasps, Reed's sneer, but most importantly, the hesitation in the dog's charge. At the last moment, when Cupcake was inches away, Harrison moved. His motion was fluid, precise, a controlled crouch as his white-gloved hands found pressure points perfected by combat trainers. The crowd's screams turned to gasps of amazement as Harrison caught Cupcake mid-lunge, redirecting his momentum with gentle but firm authority. The bulldog's aggressive charge became a controlled descent, guided to the ground with care. Easy there, soldier. Harrison's voice carried the calm of a military dog handler, his hands working with precision. You're better than what he's made you do, aren't you? Reed's triumphant expression shattered. Cupcake, attack. What are you doing? Get him. But his commands fell on deaf ears. Cupcake's aggression melted away, his powerful body relaxing under Harrison's touch. The bulldog rolled over, exposing his belly in complete submission, his tail wagging as Harrison's gloves hit the right spots. You've been trained for this, haven't you? Harrison continued, his tone steady, military bloodline, probably from a proper breeding program. Before this one got hold of you, the crowd watched in stunned silence as Cupcake transformed from a threatening beast to a gentle giant. Harrison spoke clearly, addressing the onlookers, while his hands worked. A dog like this comes from generations of service animals, military lines bred for intelligence, loyalty, and the ability to recognize true authority. His eyes locked on Reed, who was backing away, his face a mask of rage. What you've done isn't just abuse. It's an insult to centuries of careful breeding and noble purpose. Henry Carver, the American veteran, felt a lump in his throat. He'd trained military dogs in Vietnam, and Harrison's words hit home. He's right. Margaret, he whispered, that dog was meant for greatness, not this. Margaret squeezed his hand, her eyes misty. It's like watching honor come alive, isn't it? Across the courtyard, the school children, who'd hidden in fear, now crept closer, their teacher allowing them to witness the transformation. See, children, she said softly, this is what real strength looks like. Not fear, but compassion. Harrison continued, scratching behind Cupcake's ears. These animals are meant to protect, to serve, to work alongside handlers who respect their heritage, not to be turned into weapons for petty displays of power. Reed's voice cracked with desperation. Cupcake, come here now. But the bulldog merely glanced at him, then turned back to Harrison, responding to genuine authority. A palace guard sergeant moved in with 2 police officers, their approach careful but unnecessary. Cupcake remained calm, sitting contentedly at Harrison's feet. A deeper truth revealed. You see, Harrison addressed the crowd, guiding Cupcake through basic commands. The dog followed eagerly. A dog like this can recognize the difference between leadership through fear and command through respect. His hands demonstrated, showing how Cupcake responded to subtle signals. This isn't some attack dog bred for intimidation. This is a British bulldog, descended from lines that served alongside military and police units. Everything about him, his muscle structure, his intelligence, was developed for noble purpose. And you, he looked at Reed, have twisted that into something shameful. The police officers moved closer, captivated by the lesson unfolding. Do you see these children? Harrison gestured to the school group. You brought an agitated animal into a public space filled with families. One mistake, and someone's child could have been hurt. Not Cupcake's fault, but yours. He ran his hand along the bulldog's shoulders, demonstrating proper handling. These animals can assist in search and rescue, provide therapy, work with law enforcement. Instead, you used him to threaten innocent people, to make yourself feel powerful. The contrast was stark. The snarling beast from minutes ago was now a dignified animal, his tail wagging steadily. The tragedy, Harrison continued, his voice heavy with professional disappointment, is that you've had this dog long enough to undo proper training. These response points, these command positions, they're still there, bred into him over generations. But you've layered fear and aggression over instincts that should have been nurtured, not corrupted. Let's pause. Friends, your channel's 10 days in, and this story's a testament to our shared journey. Shimei, if this moment of honor touched you, subscribe for more tales of courage. We're just getting started. What hit you deepest? The guard's compassion, Cupcake's transformation, or the crowd's newfound respect? Share your thoughts. I'll reply to everyone. And here's a question. Do you think animals like Cupcake deserve a second chance? Yes or no? Vote in the comments. As animal protection officers arrived, their expression shifted from concern to interest. The lead officer, a woman with graying hair, knelt beside Cupcake, military breeding line. Wouldn't you say, she asked Harrison, who nodded, while maintaining control. British Bulldog, likely a Belgian cross. The response to pressure points suggests professional training. Before the deterioration, Reed, now being questioned by police, protested. You can't take my property. I paid for him. An officer cut him off. Multiple witnesses report intentional animal abuse, public endangerment, and inciting an attack on a Queen's Guard. The officer attached a proper lead, and Cupcake followed without resistance, but not before giving Harrison a final look of understanding. A moment between two beings, bred for service. Harrison resumed his post, his white gloves still immaculate, the sun catching his brass buttons. The sergeant approached quietly. Well handled. I suspect dog handling wasn't in standard guard training. Harrison replied, eyes forward. 3 years with the Royal Army Veterinary Corps. Sire. Specialized in rehabilitation of military working dogs. The sergeant smiled. Some training never leaves you. The incident rippled far beyond Buckingham Palace. A viral video, Royal Guard tames Bulldog, amassed millions of views. Inspiring discussions on animal welfare. Henry and Margaret Carver shared the story with their veterans group in Ohio, raising $10,000 for a military dog rehabilitation program. That guard reminded me what honor looks like, Henry said at a fundraiser, his voice thick with emotion. In London, the schoolteacher used the story in her classroom, teaching compassion and respect. It's not about fear, she told her students, but understanding. Cupcake was placed in a service program, his intelligence and training shining through. He became a therapy dog for veterans, his gentle presence healing wounds of war. Reed faced charges of animal abuse and public endangerment, his bravado replaced by the weight of consequence. Buckingham Palace issued a statement on the guards' actions, revealing that many royal guards carry specialized skills from military service. A nod to the depth beneath the ceremony. The story inspired broader change. In the U.S., a Virginia senator, moved by the viral clip, proposed legislation to protect service animal bloodlines, ensuring they're placed with responsible handlers. In the UK, a petition to ban using animals for intimidation gained 500,000 signatures, leading to stricter laws. Across social media, Royal Guard valor and animal redemption trended, with users sharing stories of animals finding their true purpose after hardship. One post from a retired Marine in Texas read, "Saw a dog like Cupcake in Iraq. Saved my unit. They're heroes, not weapons." Months later, Harrison received a letter from the animal protection officer. Cupcake, now renamed Valor, was thriving, helping veterans with PTSD. Enclosed was a photo of the Bulldog, his eyes bright, sitting proudly beside a Marine. Harrison smiled, tucking the letter into his uniform. At Buckingham Palace, tourists now asked about the Bulldog Guard, a story that became legend, a testament to the unseen depths of those who serve. Now, friends, let's talk. Your channel's 10 days strong, and this story's for our growing family. What moved you most? Harrison's compassion, Cupcake's redemption, or the lesson in true authority? Share your thoughts. I'll reply to everyone. If you've ever seen an animal's true nature revealed, tell us your story below. And here's a challenge. Share the story on Facebook with a veteran you know. Let's keep Royal Guard valor alive, building a world where honor and compassion prevail. Subscribe, hit the bell, and tell us, what's your story of courage?